Hey, what's going on, friends and family? All right, I've been getting a lot of emails lately. Uh, don't mind the noise in the background. That's my snack wrapper. Everybody's got to eat. Been getting a lot of emails lately from people who have been asking me if I could show them some of the basics in FL Studio. See, the thing is I actually sell some videos. They're really inexpensive. We're talking about like $4.99 per video installment. Um, and it's a training series, and it takes you through stuff like FL Studio, Reason, Pro Tools. I mean, you can see right here, and these are just some of the things I use on a daily basis. I actually have programs that aren't even installed on my home setup, which is where we are now. You can see the what's this called? The background of my desktop. That's my actual office at Crescendo Sound Studios in Gainesville, Florida, where I am an audio engineer and music producer. I am a certified audio engineer. I went to the recording connection. I have a degree in music production and engineering, and I am also a producer for a company called Beat Trap Productions out of Gainesville, Florida. If you don't know who we are, then you better find the Google button somewhere. We're doing big things, man. Work with people like B.O.B., Tay-Dism, Field Mob, Blasphemy, the Commissioner, T. Whitey, a lot of people, man. I'm not even going to sit here and go through all of that. That's not what this is about. But so people have been asking me, like, is there any way that I could possibly make some sort of like free videos for people nowadays? The economy's hard. Hey, I get that. In the spirit of trying to help people, because I wish I would have known some people that could have helped me when I first started out, man. I'm not joking. I bet you I have spent a real number, just a ballpark estimate, probably 12,000 hours of time in research and development to learn to produce music. And that's like an estimate. It may be a little less, a little more. I'm not really sure. But the point is I put years of sitting behind a monitor with a keyboard, researching, learning mixing, learning mastering, learning MIDI, learning digital audio workstations. There's a word for you, or a DAW, D.A.W. That is what FL Studio, Pro Tools, Logic, Nuendo, Cubase, all of these things are. They are a digital audio workstation. I've spent a lot of time, even went to school and am now employed by an actual recording studio on a professional level. I'm not tooting my own horn. I have mentors in this game. I have stuff I still have to learn. But if you're watching this to try to learn, not being conceited, but I'm light years ahead of you. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean that as you are an empty vessel and I am somewhat fuller is all. I have something I could potentially give you to help you. And I do it in the spirit of goodwill, because I wish I would have had someone that could have taught me some of these things when I was younger and coming up and everything. I've been producing since 2004. Today's date is, let's see, May 30th, 2012. Okay, I started producing when I was on active duty in the military and have never stopped. Back when I started, you were really lucky if you had a program like a Cakewalk or a Sonar, or even an FL Studio was around back then, but they were kind of limited in what they could do, and you really had to work way harder to get some of the things that are a little easier nowadays with plugins and such. If some of this language seems foreign to you, what we're going to do right now is we're going to get you up on the terminology and vernacular. Okay, so lesson number 1. If you want to make music and you just want to start out making beats, I would recommend you get Reason, or my personal favorite, you can see right here, I have FL Studio 10. Okay, Producer Edition. I have man, drum kits on top of drum kits on top of drum kits. I mean, you get the point, not to sound redundant, but if you've ever heard of a drum kit, chances are I've got it, homie. So I'm not going to go into how to load VST software, plugins and drum kits, because I actually have another video on my YouTube page where you're probably watching this at right now that goes through that. I did that a long time ago. Somebody emailed me and was like, man, could you please just, take some time out of your day for an up-and-coming producer? And I said, sure, what can I do for you? And the guy found drum kits. I'm not going to tell you where you can get them, where you shouldn't get them, all of that. That's actually in some of my videos that I sell, because, I got to eat too, man. You can hate, you can congratulate, you can think whatever you want, but I have to eat too. So a lot of those secrets and stuff are in some of the later videos that you can purchase on my website, bionicmusicgroup.com. That's BIONICmusicgroup.com. Hope that helped. You can get those videos there. If you got a PayPal account or credit card or whatever, you can simply pay and it will allow you to download the videos. I sell whole series and I sell lessons by, lesson by lesson type videos. So, back to what I was telling you. Fruity Loops, Cakewalk, Sonar, Pro Tools, Logic, Nuendo, all of these things are called a Digital Audio Workstation. Now, what do they do? Okay, well, say you want to make music, and I'm sure you do if you're watching this. Okay, well, you need to get one of these programs. You can get something that's a starter version like FL Studio, the $99 version. It comes with a small amount of drum kits, a small amount of stuff in it. But here's the thing, you can add things to that, all right? So if you only went and got the $99 version, it may not have some of the stuff that my producer edition has in it, but you got to start somewhere. I started with the $99 version 8 years ago, okay? Well, about 7 years ago, something like that anyway. I started with that, and at the time, didn't even know that you could add stuff to it. I didn't know you could go find other drum kits, download them, and install them into the proper file locations, and they would appear in your Digital Audio Workstation. That's the last time I'm saying the whole thing. We're going to say DAW from now on. Okay? So I didn't know you could get stuff to put inside your DAW. So I was basically working on a really restricted level. I heard about it, did some research, spent a weekend looking up how to find drum kits, where to get drum kits, how to install drum kits, and felt like I had made a huge come up. Oh man, I'm so much more advanced now. Little did I know, I still had tons of things I didn't even know about the interface itself. Meaning, when I go inside here, this is FL Studio's interface. You see, you may or may not know what all these buttons do, what the hell this thing right here is. Excuse my language if you're watching this. I'm sorry. I'm an ex-sailor. Sometimes that comes back. You may not know what this stuff here is. And that's where, you can do some research on your own. I'm going to go through and show you what these things are. The knowledge is out there. You can obtain it. Some of the programs and drum kits and things like that, they cost money. But research and knowledge with the internet nowadays, it's out there. You just have to know how to do a search, go to YouTube and find a video, find someone who wrote an article. The knowledge is out there. Now I'm going to attempt to contribute to that knowledge base right now. Okay? So, let's just start from the very top. Okay? You might notice this little thing here. See where my cursor is? Alright? This is your information window. Every time I put this on something, it will tell me what that button is or does, what its function is, what its label is. Okay? All right. So if I go here to File, this is all. I'm not going to really go through this too much. You can see, open a new project, open a template. You can click Open, go to your FLP, Fruity Loop program files. You can go to your program files, choose previous, past, projects you had been working on. Like you can open and see, this will open. All right. So you can open something from the past. You can save it. If it's already named, you would just click Save, and it will save it under that name. You can save as and name it. You could save as the same name, but a new version, which I do not recommend you do because that's confusing. Always, if you save something under the same name, put like V1, V2, Mix 1, Mix 2, keep your copies until you reach a master, because you never know what would happen. Your computer crashes, and it just so happens you had mix number 3 out of 5 on a flash drive. Well, guess what? You just got your whole program back, and you recovered 75% of your work. Okay, so I always recommend keep your FLP, your Fruity Loop program files, keep copies of them somewhere other than your computer, because we can reinstall instruments, we can reinstall VST plugins. VST stands for Virtual Sound Technology. Okay, when we talk about it, we're talking about VSTI, Virtual Sound Technology Instrument. Okay, a VST instrument can be reloaded. The program, the DAW, FL Studio, Pro Tools, it can be reloaded. But the program files themselves are something that we really want to keep, like a cloud storage, USB, external hard drive. Those types of things need to be stored somewhere else, okay? So, import, pretty simple. You can import a MIDI file. What is a MIDI file? A MIDI file is simply the data that is stored on some keyboards. Most of the newer ones will allow you to play something, store it, and then if I hook it up here to FL Studio for more manipulability and ease of use, I can download the MIDI file from my keyboard. Beat slice, this is simply where you can just take a beat, slice it up. It helps sometimes. Export, you have zip loop packages. That means when you want to take everything in the project and put it in a zip file to like email someone that copy or that file. It's a smaller compressed file. A wave file. Wave files are always your highest quality sound files when it comes to FL Studio. Okay? I didn't say period. There's other stuff out there like all this lossless MP3s and lame wave files, and not lame as in bad, lame as in LAME. It's an acronym. But basically, okay, a wave file, that's your highest quality sound right there. MP3 files are usually made for sending over the internet. You can fit 10 times the data in an MP3 than you can in a wave. There is a little bit of sound quality difference, and it's on a compression level because the data is being compressed. So what it's doing is it's emulating the wave file to the best of its capabilities within certain parameters to keep it small enough for it to be sent over the internet. Can you notice the difference between an MP3 and a wave file? Maybe, maybe not. I mean, everybody's ear training is a little bit different. If you're going to sell a beat to someone, though, give them the damn wave file whenever possible. All right? Don't even worry about OGG files. You will never probably ever use this. If you want to know what it is, go look it up. It's not that pertinent. MIDI files, you know what those are. We just talked about it. Project Bones. Project Bones will allow you to take all of the instruments and everything and put them in a folder. Okay? And it will make an FLP inside the folder. A project data file will simply just take all of the information from the project and put it in a file, meaning it will take all of your wave sounds, all of your sounds from the VST instruments, all of that, and put it in a file. It won't have an FLP file, so when you take this to another computer and you open it, yeah, good luck. You just have the sound files. You don't have the file, the Fruity Loops program file to load. So, know the difference. Comes with an FLP, it's just the sounds. Okay? Now, this is the recent project storage bin. Okay? And then this is where we can revert to the last backup of FL Studio. Say I save something and it caused some kind of corruption on my computer. And it only does it when I try to open that file now. Well, if I had a version of that file before it went wrong, I can click this, close this out, FL Studio that is, restart my computer, open FL Studio, and open that file name now, and it should work for you. Okay, I'm not guaranteeing anything. I am in no way affiliated with FL Studio, Pro Tools, any of these things. These are simply tools that I have learned to use over the years that work great for me, and I'm hoping that maybe you'll take some interest in these programs as well. You notice there's no affiliate links or any of that nonsense. I'm not here to make money off of telling you what really works and what doesn't as far as programs and recommendations. The how to use them and tricks and tips and stuff like that, yeah, I make money off of that, but I am a music producer and I am an audio engineer. This simply referring you to the stuff that works best, letting you understand your toolbox, because make no mistake, much like a carpenter or an electrician or any of these other things, all of these DAWs, these Digital Audio Workstation programs, they are all tools. They're good at different things. For instance, I may make a beat in Reason or FL Studio or any of these other ones, but I wouldn't probably record vocals into FL Studio. And you used to, unless I'm mistaken, you used to not even be able to record vocals into Reason. Now, I think that may have changed in some more updated versions, but the point here is learn your toolbox, because all of these things are tools, okay? So, this is all self-explanatory. You can come in here and, this you don't need yet because you haven't recorded or done anything. But if I had recorded something and didn't like it, I could come here and it would say undo recorded stuff, and I could click on it. You can always just come into the piano roll, press Control A, which will highlight everything. Say I've got just a bunch of stuff I don't want. Control A, delete. Look at that. Yeah. Now, if you notice, this is red now, and it will only run to that point. It's because it's looped. That's called looping. Now, it's not looped on what it should be. It was only what I had written in there. But how do we turn this off? Now watch. Say I write this, which none of this makes sense. These are random notes. But I want to get to this over here. It'll never make it there. And if you're new to FL Studio, that can be quite frustrating, because now you're like, well, what the heck, man? I'm stuck. I'm dead in the water, okay? Well, it's because you just have it looped. If you double click up here on this yellow thing, or not the yellow thing, but the black area just below the yellow thing, and hold it, you can loop things yourself. Say I loop something, but I don't want it. Just double click up here and it turns it off. Okay? But you notice now this marker starts from where I double click every time. So make sure you click on the 1. Okay? And it'll start from 1. Now, Control A, delete, take the loop off, you're good. Alright? Now, this right here, this is what keeps time. It will do it in 2 different ways. Seconds. And it will do it by bars and minutes. Okay? Just keep it on seconds. We're making music, and most of it's going to be in what's called radio format. Now, without giving you too much information, because again, I have to eat, this is in some of the later material, there is a format to making a song that will make it to the radio, a single, okay? And there's a way of doing it. And it usually works out that you're going to have about a 3.5 minute, if you're famous, maybe a 4 minute song. Okay? Now, that format has a structure, meaning that we have a certain way we do things, and it winds up to a certain time length. Okay? That's called radio format. All right? But basically, we don't care about the beats, measures, and all of that. We care about how long we've been doing something, because in here, you can see, here's our beats, measures, bars, everything, okay? Actually, the bars and measures are in here, okay? In a piano roll, these are beats. These tiny squares, beats. This, from this line to this line, bar. From here to here, measure, okay? Now, this right here, you have a drop-down window. You can find things. Say I'm looking for a crash. Bam, look at that. Okay? Smart find, it'll do the same thing. Find, smart find, it pretty much does the same thing. Watch. Crash. Oh, it took me to the same thing. Okay? Find previous. It will simply take me to the previous way that this was set. Alright? Not a big deal. This stuff's pretty easy. Find next. I never use find previous or next. Just go into your damn drum kit, excuse my language again, and find it. Okay? Or use find and type in what you're after. Like, say I want a conga. Oh. Now, that may not be the exact one I want, but on the fly, that's pretty cool. It pulled it up. Okay? Now, that's a mute conga. We may not want that. But on the fly, that's pretty cool. You know, it pulled it up. Size. You know, this is your view: compact, small, medium, big, huge. You need glasses, okay? See, so that's cool. No matter what your vision level is, I have good vision. I had LASIK surgery years ago, and now I have 20/20 vision. But I still use the big because it's just simple. And you probably can't tell this, but my monitor is 50 inches large. So, I mean, I like stuff a little larger. It makes it easier on the eyes. It makes the workflow easier. If I could, I would have a damn touch screen monitor. Excuse my language again. You know, you can basically look at these and go through them and tell what they're for. All right? Some of this stuff, don't even worry about it. Like, watch. All that does is close everything. Okay? Say I got this open, this open, this open. Well, and I don't want to go through and close all of this. Bam. Look at that. Okay? Now, if you watched the video, you know that packs, you know how to go in. If you watched my video on how to install things into FL Studio, then you already know. If you put your drum kits in the folder that says packs, and here's a quick rundown of how to do that, okay? The FL Studio logo, right-click on it. You see down at the bottom where it says Show File Location? Click on that. You see where it says Image Line? Click on that, okay? You see where it says Data? Click on that. Now, in one of these files here, it's like plugins or something like that, you'll see a folder that says Packs. If you open that and then drag and drop or copy and paste any new drum kits you get into there, when you go back in and open FL Studio and go in Packs, you'll see, look, a Bionic kit, drum kit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, effects, guitars, loops, my Mega Massive kit, okay? That has an unbelievable amount of stuff in it, okay? Music Mafia kit, drum kits. I mean, I just closed all of this, but you saw a minute ago when I started this video how I ran through and showed you, like, I have hundreds of, you know, drum kits. Okay, now drum kits is only one aspect of this. The other aspect is VSTI, Virtual Studio Technology Instruments. What the hell does all that mean? Well, basically, do you own a bass guitar? Well, maybe you do, maybe you don't. but I bet you don't own like a castanet or an accordion. And then again, maybe then I'm wrong too. But if you do, then you should be using Pro Tools and recording yourself live and doing it that way if you're so cool. No disrespect, just joking. But basically, for those of us who, okay, I'm going to quote a producer, and if you're a hip-hop fan, you know who Scott Storch is. Kind of fell off recently. That sucks. You know, I'm not here to hate or bag on anyone. I hate to see anyone doing poorly. But he made a quote a while back, and he said, "I don't need to own every instrument. I don't even need to know how to play every instrument. All I need is my VSTs and my MIDI controller or a good keyboard with MIDI capabilities. And I simply study how real instrument players, guitar players and stuff, how they play things, how they hold notes, how they bend notes, and I emulate that on a keyboard. Do you understand what kind of power that gives you? Now, you do not need a recording studio with 16 different bass guitars on the wall and all these different acoustics and electrics and organs, and you don't need all that because we have all of that. I mean, just briefly, okay, FL Studio does not come with all of this, but all of these pretty much are a plug-in of some sort. Right here, everything right here, pretty much everything right here is all VSTs. Now watch this. So I come in here and I don't know, we'll pick something randomly, okay? But watch. You hear that? See what I'm saying? And then this has, look, pads, leads, brass, arpeggiations, pianos, and this is one VST. I happen to have, well, a few. You know, and we could keep going and going and going and going and going and going. And there's actually, this is only one location for my VSTs. I can switch to file location like this. And I could put in my other file location here. That's my second VST library, which I haven't done because I reinstalled FL Studio a few days ago. And I'm working on putting everything back into it. But I have a whole other section. I have a whole other library of VST instruments. Okay, so quick recap. Some of the things that you need to know. You need to know what it is you're trying to do. Are you trying to record yourself? Well, then you may need something like Pro Tools or Logic or Nuendo or Cubase, which, by the way, Logic and Cubase, you can make pretty decent beats in as well. All right? I'm not here to knock any program. As a matter of fact, everything I just named, I own a version of some sort of it and know how to use it. Okay, so like I said, all of these are just tools in your tool bag as a music producer. Now, I don't ever mean to sound condescending or like I'm belittling you or talking to you like a not so smart child, but I just try to shoot you as straight as I can. And really, knowledge is power. So if you're gaining power, then please just sit here and humor some of my vocal tones, because I don't mean to come across in any manner other than helpful. I'm just stern. I'm ex-military. I say it plain and simple and sometimes with vulgar language. I apologize. I try to keep it clean. I never know who's watching these videos. I don't say anything really vulgar, but a damn or a hell may slip every now and then. So, you need to know what you're trying to do in a nutshell. Are you trying to record? Are you trying to produce beats and instrumentals? Are you trying to just learn to mix and master music? Are you know, what are you trying to do? Okay? We're going to assume you're trying to learn to make beats in this specific tutorial. Okay? Now, drum kits. You know about drum kits. Not all of these come with FL Studio. You need to go find them. You need to go watch the video and learn to install them. You need to learn how to open a drum kit, pick something, and install it over here. Okay, but what is this over here? Well, this is called a step sequencer. Now, what is that exactly? Okay, well, we have to have a way of assigning note lengths and time and things of that nature to what we're trying to compose. So, in essence, a step sequencer is simply, think of it like a grid, like a piece of like a sheet paper for writing music on, sorry. Except we're not going to sit here and write notes and everything else. We're simply going to put, notes, whatever length we may want, whether it's a quarter, a half, a whole. Now pay attention. Or say we wanted to go to a 16th note, whatever. Okay, now you see what I just did? This is your snap to grid. Line makes it 4 beats per bar. 4 beats per bar, 4 bars per measure. Okay, now we can change that. Cell, it just does the same thing. It just makes it pop to the cell. None will give us basically 8 beats per bar and 32 per measure. Okay, now familiarize yourself with all these different note lengths, snap to grid note lengths. Okay, and now steps and beats are different, bars are different. You know, I'm running out of some time here. You know, I got to make this video quick. I'm going to try to cover things that you need to do homework wise. I may not go into all of this in real deep detail, but these are the main things you need to learn about. Okay, learn about this snap to grid, learn about this piano roll. Okay, I have it turned down so you can hear me instead of this. Learn about this. Okay, a quick demonstration. All right, when you know what you're doing and you've created something that's, you know, this is rough right here, but I'm going to use it to demonstrate. I'm going to use it to demonstrate an instrumental and how I went about writing some of the stuff that you hear in this. Okay, so let's take a listen. Let's turn this down just a hair. Now you hear that really cool Saul synth? You see how I wrote this? Okay, now I know you're going to sit there and copy it, and that's fine. This is copywritten, so please do yourself a favor and learn what copyrights are, learn what copyright infringement is, learn what, you know, fair common use is, or whatever it's called, where you may have to pay a small fee because you used an interpolation of somebody's progression or something. And if you don't know what an interpolation is, look it up. Dr. Dre is notorious for the stuff like that, like pianos and stuff that you think are so cool, and he came up with that. Nah, he sampled it from like Parliament Funk or somebody like that, really. Okay, but he didn't use the whole thing, and he changed a couple of notes. But ultimately, it's like 70% the same melody. Now that's called an interpolation. You may have to pay on things like that. This specific progression is copywritten. I welcome you to copy it to learn progression, but don't put this in your music, okay? This progression here, I know I told you it's rough, but I've used it in other stuff, okay? So that progression is actually copywritten. Feel free to learn it, though. Okay, so I know it sounds like it's clipping a little bit. That's because I can't actually use the ASIO drivers while recording my screen and have FL Studio, the audio from FL Studio and the audio from my mic feed actually pick up on anything but the computer's primary drivers. And basically, what does that mean? Okay, well, you got different drivers. FL Studio, see, I have Pro Tools and all kinds of stuff that you're not going to have. But it'll say speaker, primary, it may say direct sound, whatever, and it'll say ASIO for all version 2. When you're making music and you're not trying to record the screen and all of that, ASIO for all is your best bet for sound quality. It will not overload or do any underruns or have artifacts or clipping like you just heard, vaguely, barely, in that progression that I just played. So you typically want to be on this right here, ASIO for all. That will give you the best sound quality. In this instance, I'm recording myself, I'm recording video, I'm playing stuff back in FL Studio. ASIO is not made to do anything except be like a standalone driver for a specific program, meaning that it won't run multiple ones, okay? But your primary sound driver will. It will. So if you get to a point where you're trying to make a video or send somebody something or whatever, and it won't work, it's probably because your stuff is set on ASIO because you've been making music, put it back on primary. And vice versa. You get what I'm telling you. Okay, so you got drum kits. You get them installed. You've got it. You've got VSTs. You've found where you get them. You've watched my video. You know how to install them into the proper file locations. You know how to do all of this. You've got this up and running. And now you even know a little bit about what a step sequencer is, and let's show you some stuff like how to load a VST. Like, say I don't want this kick, okay? Now how did I do that? Just click on it and it'll pop up. This is your waveform. You can do things down here like trim it. Maybe say this piece here where it goes out and it's flat, I don't want it. So I trim it to where that is no longer there. Now, my drum's punchier. It doesn't have a little fade off piece in it, okay? You can do stuff like reverse it. All right? Normalize just simply makes louder. Usually on a kick or an 808, you don't really have to do that. It's good to go. But on some things like a hi-hat, you can actually make it louder, okay? You can do some research. Like I said, I'm trying to squeeze a lot into a short video here. You can do some research on this interface here. This is just your sample control interface. Then you have an instrument control interface with a time envelope and all of that. You can do some research on these yourself. All right, I definitely recommend you understand and learn what all of this is. Okay, these are filters and LFO signatures and, time envelopes and all of that good stuff. Learn what these things are, okay? Remember, I'm not going to teach you everything right now. I'm going to point out some of the things that if I would have known when I was younger, a list of things I should know and go and study and everything, and someone would have made me a list, I would have progressed probably 3 or 4 years faster, okay? So what I'm doing for you is I'm making you a list and giving you a brief tutorial on some of the terminology, jargon, things that you're going to need to understand, acquire, different things like that. This isn't an end-all, be-all tutorial. This is simply me on a rainy day sitting here trying to give back to you guys. Okay? So, step sequencer. Okay? Let's go back to up here, though. Let's take a look at this. All right? A lot of people tell me, like, bro, I don't have the money for equipment and MIDI controllers, and you guys have probably seen more of my videos. If not, go and watch them. Rate, subscribe, do all that good stuff. Go to Facebook, type in Bionic or Mr. Bionic. Or I'm not concerned with anyone even knowing my real name. My real name's Kevin Thomas Parker. Okay, any of those are going to lead you to me. All right. You've seen my equipment. I mean, I have the ASRs and the MPCs and MPKs and M boxes and all these other wonderful things. But when I started, I didn't. I didn't have all of those. One, because I didn't know how to operate all of them. I didn't know how to hook them all up and get them all to be recognized. Because it's not as simple as plugging in a MIDI controller into a computer and opening FL Studio and it works. You have to know how to route it. You have to know how to get it to recognize the MIDI controller. There's some stuff that goes in engineering-wise, audio engineering-wise, that goes into it. Okay? You know, that's the difference between a music producer and an engineer. A music producer, I can set him down at a keyboard, piano, or something like that, and he can crank me out progressions and all kinds of stuff. But if I told him, okay, I need you to hook up this MIDI controller to this program, and it's never had a MIDI controller hooked up to it before, that's more like an engineer. Okay, that's a tech. That's the technical side of things. I happen to be both. Not because I wanted to have bragging rights, but because I was poor, man. When I was younger, I was poor. No joke, real talk. I had to learn to do everything myself. And I wasn't lying when I told you I've spent thousands, possibly even thousands, definitely at least 1,200 or so hours just researching and learning things, okay? So this isn't going to be the end-all, be-all video for you right here. But some of these things are definitely going to help you, and I wish I would have known them when I was younger. So you don't have all this cool gear. You don't have a keyboard or a MIDI controller. Well, guess what? You have a typing keyboard more than likely right in front of you, and if you're on a laptop looking at the screen right now, it's in front of you, okay? So what does that mean? Well, this keyboard right here, the typing keyboard, I mean, say we decided we want to play the typing keys on there. And we start hitting them, but they don't make any noise, right? Well, you see this right here, the typing keyboard? See what it says? Typing keyboard to piano keyboard. Turn that on. Now watch. That's me pressing keys on the typing keyboard. And this will work with anything. I could take and put a drum VST in here, and this has all kinds of great drums. And let's get it to load one, but you'll see what I'm saying. See, these are all just me touching. That is G, F, D, okay, on the typing keyboard. So, see, knowledge is power. You have a MIDI keyboard right in front of you, okay? And understand what a MIDI keyboard is. Okay, a keyboard has onboard sounds, meaning a Phantom, a Triton, all these things, they have onboard sounds. A MIDI controller, it doesn't. It has no sounds. If you plug it in and don't hook it to a computer and open up a DAW and assign a VST, it will never make a noise. It doesn't have any sounds inside of it. What a MIDI controller is basically it communicates data to the VST, letting it know what note you've just pressed, how hard you just pressed it, and how long you held it for. So all it is a communication device between a piece of software and itself, okay? So it don't have any sounds in it, all right? Guess what your typing keyboard is? It is the same thing. What key did you press? And believe it or not, it will even tell the computer how hard you hit the key and how long you held it. That sounds like a MIDI controller to me. So you have a MIDI controller right in front of you. There you go. I hope I helped you, man, because that was like something that bothered me when I first started out. That I didn't have cool equipment and stuff like that. So watch this. Okay, so you don't have a really good system, not even a good 2.1 system for speakers, for monitors. In the music business, a monitor is a speaker, okay? We call, viewing monitors, we call them screens, okay? So when I say a monitor, I'm talking about your speakers. When I say a screen, I mean the place where you view images, okay? Where you visually observe things, all right? So say you don't have good monitors, you don't have good speakers. You don't even have a good 2.1 system. What is a 2.1 system? Okay, well, like the Harman Kardons or whatever, however you pronounce it, that has like the little bass cabinet and then the two little satellite speakers. Well, that's a two satellite speakers, 0.1, one bass speaker. And there's some decent computer ones out there. I actually have one in my home studio that's set up like that. It has an additional sub I've managed to wire in and get involved in it though. But here's the thing, say you don't have any of that. Well, there's headphones out there nowadays that are specifically designed to represent frequencies the way they're supposed to be represented. It used to be headphones weren't the greatest idea to use to listen while you were making music or mixing music. And if you did have a pair that were good, like some Bose or something like that, then they were like $700 or $800 headphones. Well, I mean, you can go get a pair of Beats, the really good Beats headphones, for less than $300. And I mean the really good ones, the ones that set all the way around your ear, and it actually has a really deep ear cup on it. So your ears are never being pressed on. The speaker is at least an inch away, well, a half inch or so away from your ear. You can get those. Now, your typing keyboard, I just taught you how to turn it into a MIDI controller. You plug your headphones in and put them on, and now you have a MIDI controller and a good monitoring system. All right? You've went and found drum kits. You've watched the video and know how to install them. VSTs, you know how to install them. Now, I'm not going to teach you where to go get all this stuff. I will, but like I said, I got to eat too, guys, and it's nothing to do with not wanting to help people, because I tutor kids in music. I give away free beats to inspiring artists. I give out free instructional stuff like this from time to time. So, you know, I help people out, man, but this isn't UNICEF, unfortunately. So some of the more advanced stuff, like I said, my website, there's a whole series of videos, www.bionic, like the Bionic Man, bionicmusicgroup.com. $4.99. It's an hour long. Each video is an hour long. I go through everything from basic rhythm progression to where to get drum kits. When you buy the video, I even send you a drum kit saying thanks from me. One of my custom drum kits that I went in and made and recorded the sounds and everything in a real studio. Okay? So, I can't give you everything here, but what I can give you is this knowledge here, okay? Get yourself a DAW if you want to make beats. If you want to record and be a recording artist and learn to record yourself but get beats and instrumentals from someone else, and you just want to learn to record your own vocals and mix and master your own vocals, get yourself something like Pro Tools or Logic, Nuendo, Cubase. All of those. Sonar is actually pretty good nowadays. Back in the day, it was kind of like, I don't know that, maybe, maybe not. It's actually fairly decent now, and it's affordable. I mean, but ultimately, the industry standard is Pro Tools. Okay, that's what I use. You can see it right here. I'm not joking. This is Pro Tools 9 HD. All right. I'm sorry. This is Pro Tools 9 LE. I have HD at the studio. It's a TDM system, which means it's a rack-based system, and that's an advanced lesson. If you really want to know the difference, go type in difference between Pro Tools LE and HD TDM systems, and somebody's probably written an article on it. All right, I'll teach you that later in later stuff, but not in this free tutorial here today. Okay, so you now know you need drum kits, you need to get them, you need to load them, you need to pick your DAW software. I recommend FL Studio simply because it is in my experience and personal opinion, the easiest to learn, okay? And once you've learned this one, when you go on to something like Reason, Cubase, Pro Tools, like you understand a lot of the stuff that's on the screen. Because it looks similar to what is in FL Studio, meaning a step sequencer looks like a step sequencer. A playlist looks like a playlist, okay? You see how you just lost your instrument thing on the side there? This is what this does. See? View, browser, plugin, picker. See, that opens up over here. Now you can go in here, pick drums, do whatever you want to do, okay? So, learn this interface. Again, we went over what these are. I told you about this. I told you about this. Some of these things in here are pretty self-explanatory. This is to change the snap to grid in the playlist. This is your pencil. This is your paintbrush. This is just to put one thing in at a time. This is to put a lot in. Hold it and drag it, okay? This will mute something. Like if I have something here and I don't want to hear it at the moment, but I want to hear what comes after it, and I don't want to just mute the channel, I can take this and mute just that one representation of the pattern in the area I don't want to hear. Okay? Actually, I told you backwards. This is the mute. This is delete. Okay? This will slip you back and forth between things. This cuts things. This selects things. This zooms in. And this is for playback. Now, I know you're not going to remember all that, but remember this. Remember your view window box right here? This is your friend, okay? This is your buddy. Because when you touch something, look, view step sequencer. Oh, we know what a step sequencer is now. That's where we write music. Playlist. Well, that's where we arrange music. Watch this, okay? Now, here's another big secret. You ready? Don't write everything on one pattern. You see how I have one thing on pattern 1? Now, I didn't say put everything on one pattern. You can layer things. Like you see this right here? This is 2 instruments doing the same thing. There's another big secret. Layer things. Okay, now, see, this is where we make all of the different components for our song. Okay, but that still doesn't make a beat. A beat is all of the components gathered as one and arranged in a specific order that is interesting to the human mind and ear. Oh yeah, it's got to be interesting. You can't just make something that does the same thing for 3 minutes. It's boring. After a minute or so, I'm like, okay, this never changed. I never heard a breakdown section. I never heard a hook section, a bridge section. I never heard an intro. I never heard anything that gave it dynamics. Dynamics meaning interesting and different at different points. And when you get into more advanced videos, I start teaching you song structure, song formatting, dynamic formatting, transitional formatting, all of these different techniques to making music that are music theory, okay? So yeah, we have all the components and we build all these different things, okay? But that still doesn't make a beat. That's what this playlist is for. You see, we write components. We make each progression on a pattern in the step sequencer. Okay, but that still only represents it right here in this. But if we take this off of pattern and put it on song and come here and start putting these different patterns in an order, then you wind up with what's called an arrangement. Alright, you get the point. It's going to have underruns and it's going to clip because the primary sound driver on my computer is not that great. but that's why we use the ASIO driver usually. Remember, we learned that as well. Okay? Now, so you know about drum kits, you know about VSTs, you know about DAW softwares, you know that each one may or may not be good for certain things, and you need to evaluate them and make your own judgment decisions on things like that. I'll simply tell you that it's a tool in your toolbox. I may use a screwdriver to scrape paint off a window seal, but I might also have some sandpaper in my toolbox that might work better. You understand what I'm saying? So you need to evaluate all of these things and make your own decisions on what works best for you, meaning what can I open and get right to work and easily take what I hear in my head and make it tangible so other people can hear what I'm hearing in my head. And is it made to do, is it specifically designed from the designer, the developers of the program, to do what I'm asking it to do? For instance, Pro Tools. Pro Tools is, you know, some of you may be saying, well, why wouldn't you just do everything in Pro Tools? Well, good question. Because unfortunately, in my opinion, Pro Tools is really time consuming to compose in, but it's really not time consuming to edit audio, meaning vocal recordings and things of that nature, live instrument recordings. So in other words, for me to go in there and make a beat in Pro Tools, it takes more steps to do it than it does in FL Studio. But here's another thing, watch this. When I make a beat in FL Studio, I don't do anything to it other than set the volume levels. I don't do any panning. I don't do any of that, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to bounce it down, meaning I'm going to export it, and then I'm going to load every track into Pro Tools, and I do all my mixing and mastering in Pro Tools. Because, you know, if you make stuff in FL Studio, great, but you're only going to sound like everybody else that makes things in FL Studio. You got to take it to another level, okay? Now, that's an advanced piece of knowledge right there, too. So, know your tool bag, you know about drum kits, you know about VSTs, you know about step sequencers, you know how to load an instrument in a step sequencer, you understand the different times and snap to grids and all of that, okay? You've pretty much got a really good basis, and remember, this is your buddy. If you don't know what something is, touch it and then look at the window and it will tell you, okay? So, the only other thing I'm going to run through and teach you, excuse me, had that snack earlier you guys heard the wrapper from. The only other thing I'm going to run through and teach you, and then you'll just have to go and buy an advanced lesson if you really want to learn to make beats on a progressed level. If you want to get ahead of the curve, I recommend you taking some basic piano lessons. I recommend you at least understanding what the difference between a treble and a bass clef is. I recommend you understanding what the difference between a quarter note, half note, 16th note. Today it is so easy to make music once you have all the knowledge. That's why there's not 1,000 music producers out there that everyone knows their name, because not everybody has the time, dedication, intelligence, and resiliency to go out and find all of the knowledge and then build their tool bag and then step out on the job and actually learn how to do things on an industry level. People just go, oh, I make beats in my bedroom. Well, that's cool, bro. I'm not knocking you. I started off in my bedroom. I started off on a laptop in a bunk in the military, okay? I didn't even have a bedroom. I was in a berthing area in the Navy with 80-something other guys, all right? So that's fine. Wherever your quiet place you go to make stuff is, that's cool. Nobody should knock you for that. But the thing is if you want to make it outside of that, that shouldn't be the end-all, be-all. You should build your toolkit. And hopefully what I've showed you here helps a little bit. Now, if you want to learn, composition tricks and progression tricks and how to do advanced snare rolls and how to make a progression, as far as melody and how to EQ and mix and all of that, I can teach you. And I got videos that are already designed to do that. Okay, go to bionicmusicgroup.com, go to our store, and look at the different videos that are available. Okay, here today, I'm just teaching you the basics. I just want you to be able to get up and running and be able to find out how to put drum kits in FL Studio, find out how to put VSTs in FL Studio, what a step sequencer is, what a playlist is, what a piano roll is, all these different things. Now, the only other thing I will give you, because I've actually given you a lot, the only other thing I will give you is, you see this right here, okay? This is called a transport. Now, right here, this and this are what, actually it's just this, but for here and now, we're going to call this, this, and this, these three things, a transport. All right, so let's put them right here. And you see me, you can grab all of this and move it around to however you like it. Okay? These are what are your main functions. These four. Okay? Sorry. These are what make your main things happen in FL Studio. I know some of you are probably thinking, well, that's cool. I don't want to, that's piano roll thing and writing the notes in there. That's cool, but I'm not really on that. I want to just play and record what I'm playing. Okay. Well, it's simple. How do you like your stuff to happen? Do you want it to wait? And when you hit the first note, it starts recording? Or do you want it to give you a countdown, like 3, 2, like a metronome? Click, 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 play. Okay, it's actually 4. Click, 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 play. Okay? Do you want it to just have the metronome running while you're playing? These are your decisions here, okay? But remember, this needs to be on if you're using your typing keyboard as a MIDI controller, all right? Now, don't worry too much about these. These are pretty advanced. You will not need these while you are learning to use FL Studio. You will need these for. This waits until you hit a note to record. This counts you down. This runs a metronome in the background. This turns your MIDI controller on. Okay, this is your pattern. See, pattern 1, 2, 3, all the way up to whatever we want to go to. Okay, well, maybe 99 in a basic FL Studio, but producer goes to, I don't even know. I've never taken it that high. The most I've ever used is 33 instruments in a song, or 32, or something like that. Tempo, okay, tempo. Here's something I'm really not going to get into, because depending on what kind of music you make, this will be different. Just know you grab it by clicking it and grabbing it and holding down the left mouse and rolling it up and down changes it, okay? Now, that recording thing. Me personally, I like for it to wait, and then I arm the record. Now it's going to say, how do you want us to record this? Da, 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 da. If you don't want to see this every time, just click everything and first turn this, don't ask me this in the future, okay? And then click everything. All right? You can do automation and score, but just do everything, okay? Because 90% of the time you're not going to be playing any of the other instruments anyway. You're only going to be playing that one piece you're adding now. So it doesn't matter. Just click everything. All right? So we've now told it to wait till we play a note. We've armed it. When we hit play, now you see this? See the dotted lines? It's waiting. Now watch when I hit a note. And that was completely random. I didn't even look down. I just pressed notes. But you now see we have recorded what we did. All right? But we don't need this armed anymore because we just recorded what we were after. All right? But now watch. I want to hear it. Oh, it doesn't do anything. Man, what's going on? It's because you've told it to wait. Turn wait back off. Now, you hear that. Okay, but say we don't like that and we'd like another take it recording it, okay? Simply go here to edit. Remember earlier I told you if you had recorded something, this would say undo recorded stuff. Bam. But now watch this. Say I was like, oh man, you know, actually that was a pretty good take, or I opened the wrong instrument and erased the wrong thing, and whatever. You need it back, okay? Alt, Control, Z. Open the piano roll, and you do that simply by going here and go right click and go to piano roll. Now watch. Hold Alt, Control, Z at the same time. Bam. And if you press it and it doesn't do it, just press it again. It'll come back. Okay? And it will go a step at a time backwards. All right? So in other words, say you had 2 other things you had recorded before this that you erased, and you now realize that first one was the best one you can possibly get for however you're feeling at the moment. Maybe you're not playing the best right now, but that was the best take for you to keep to come back to later for a reference point or so. Then that's when you could just hit Alt Control Z until it walks all the way back to that point. Okay? So now, you guys have just hit the jackpot today. Because that, my friend, is way, 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 way more information than I knew my whole first year I was making beats. Okay? I'll show you what... Here, watch this. Okay? When I started out, I didn't know any better. I didn't have any mentors. Okay? I would take something like this. Watch. I would take, and I didn't even know you could choose how long this is. Like you see, it's 4 right now. Okay? You can make this thing 8. 16, 32, whatever. But if you're going to do stuff in the piano roll, leave it on the dash, which is infinity, and just open your piano roll, okay? But say I would do something like this, okay? Okay, yeah, that sucks, but this is specifically just to show you something, okay? I didn't know any better. I would take and make patterns that were like 32 bars long, okay? Now, it's going to be hard to show you all 32 bars on this thing. But, what do we do if we can't get to where we need to? See this? It'll take you there. Okay? I would make big, huge, long patterns, and how do we add a VST or an instrument if all of these have already been used? Add one. So we'll go with something simple. Okay, so I didn't know. I would make stuff like huge long patterns that had like 16-bar verse sections and an 8-bar intro and an 8-bar hook, and I mean if you do the math that's 32, but I would have everything in one pattern, and let me tell you, brother, that's not the way to go. Okay? Like I showed you earlier, you want to try to work in 4, 8, or 16 bar measures, okay? You want to do that and make one thing on each pattern, or if you're layering an instrument too, or whatever the sound you're going for is, okay? But I didn't even know any better. I would take and make everything on one pattern because I didn't understand that each of these patterns is supposed to be for its own progression, whether it be a snare, hi-hats, synth, kicks, subs, you know, whatever you use. I didn't know that. So, again, I'm Mr. Bionic. I am a music producer and audio engineer for Crescendo Sound Studios in Gainesville, Florida. I am a producer and audio engineer. Actually, the engineering just comes for the studio side. The music production is for the production label, which I'm a part of, and that's Beat Trap Productions. And yeah, man, I hope this really has helped you guys. I don't think I have very much time left, only a few seconds before I max out on this whole video thing. I'm not even sure how long this is, but I've seen a video the other day that was like an hour and 15 minutes, and I have other videos that aren't on YouTube that are an hour. Maybe if this one works, I can put up some other stuff that are free instructional type things. So I hope this helps. This is definitely, like I said, not the end-all, be-all of learning to produce music. In fact, this is just the first page in the book, my friend, and it is a very thick book. We're talking encyclopedia thick book, all right? You have just basically learned how to crawl, all right? And like I said, I mean no disrespect by any of my references, but in reality, if all you know how to do is use the things I just showed you, you can crawl now. You still don't understand stereo field. You still don't understand EQs, compressors, limiters, reverberations. There is so much stuff. LFOs, envelopes, you know, automations. There's so much stuff out there that you still don't know. And there's stuff out there I still don't know. Fortunately, I know a lot of it now. I learn stuff every day, though, and I'm hoping that today you learned something too. So that's going to be it for now. I hope this helps. Again, I'm Mr. Bionic from Beat Trap Productions, producer and audio engineer. My home studio is Crescendo Sound Studios in Gainesville, Florida. You should check us out if you get a chance. www.crescendosoundstudios.com, www.bionicmusicgroup.com. That bionicmusicgroup.com is where you can download the $4.99 instructional DVDs that are going to take you from crawling to flying. If you want to go from crawling to flying, I recommend you get at least a couple of these. If not, go ahead and just, spend the $100 and get the 10-disc series. And I may actually go back and revise that, and it may actually contain a few more, like maybe I'm sorry, not discs, installments. It's 10 different hour-long lessons, and I may go back and add a few more things to that, okay? And that's just on FL Studio. Then we can start going into some of the other stuff like Pro Tools, Reason, Logic, Cubase, these other programs. But your number one thing right now is just to start figuring out how to build your knowledge and how to build your tool bag and what tools you want in your tool bag. Every producer is different. I might walk into Timberland Studio or Stankonia Studios in Atlanta with Outkast or something like that, and they may not have all the equipment that I would personally like to have or programs that I personally use, but you're in someone else's toolbox. You have to build your own that you use when it's just you working, okay? So I hope this helps, guys. Rate, subscribe, friend me on Facebook, do all those wonderful things. I'm on SoundClick as well, Bionic Beats. Check me out. I hope this helps. God bless.